Hello and welcome to the Cameo Show. Today I am joined by my husband, Greg Braun. Hi, Greg.
Hi, hi, hi.
Greg likes to start us off with a dad joke. So, Greg, do you have a dad joke for us?
I do. Do you know how penguins build their house?
No.
It glues it together.
Damn, you've been bringing the heat with these. They're so good.
Thank
I'm
you.
not sure where you're getting them, but they're very good. I enjoy them. Well, today we are going to talk about our experience with a recent extended fast. But I'd like to start this episode by saying that we are by no means experts and that everyone's experience with fasting is going to be different. And perhaps depending on your situation, you could or should have some type of professional advice. Like, I don't want this to be an episode where anyone takes what we say as expert level information, applies it to their life, and it may be detrimental to their own personal well-being. So I say all of that because we just want to share our experience. We've had some people ask us about our experience with fasting, and so we want to share what we do know, but always taking the right precautions and introducing this, especially when it comes to things that we do for our health, whether it's working out or fasting or certain diet decisions. So with that being said, we recently did an extended fast. I say extended because extended is anything over a 24-hour period of time. And I personally went about 56 hours. And Greg, you went
76?
Yeah, something like that. It started as let's do a 36-hour fast that quickly escalated as we were into it because we were into it. And we have done some reading and some research that have helped us make this decision as being something that we want to do for ourselves and that would be a healthy choice for our body. And we have experimented in the past quite frequently, actually, with intermittent fasting, which is different. Intermittent fasting is under that 24-hour mark. Often I do that and I don't even mean to because I might eat my last meal at 8 p.m. the night before and then skip breakfast and go all the way to 2 p.m. the next day. And that's technically been, 16 to 18 hours of fasting before I break my fast. We all fast all night long. That's why it's called breakfast for her. But we decided against just doing the intermittent fasting and going for the extended. So the extended 36 hours. Now,
Because we're extreme.
yeah, we like to push the envelope and really see what we're made of. And when I say what we're made of, I don't mean like push it so far until you like wither away to nothing. It's like a very controlled situation. But see what we're made of, for me, mostly applies to like discipline. So discipline, in my opinion, is one of the benefits of an extended fast that doesn't really get talked about. I have a whole list of benefits of extended fasting that I want to share. And the very last one is psychological, being disciplined and self-control. And I feel like for me, that is the challenge. And that is what I mean by seeing what I'm made of, because so much of what we do when it comes to eating is conditioned into us. 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, graze all day long, small meals, or it's habitual, right? Like how many times do you just reach in the cabinet for something because you're bored? And so the discipline element for me was huge because I found myself, especially in the first few hours, going through that mindset, that psychological warfare of like, I want to eat something, but I'm not hungry, but I want to eat something, but you're fasting, but I want to eat something. You're just bored. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it doesn't really get talked about very much as one of the benefits, but that as a benefit is like really pushing yourself to stay on focus and have those conversations with yourself about why you're doing it in the first place and go back.
I just want to share a quote. There's an account on Instagram and it's called What Men Should Do. It says, a man who can control his tongue, hunger, and sexual urges has solved 99% of his life's problems. And that might even be like a Stoic quote or, ancient quote that's not getting the proper credit there. So I apologize for that. But that is a powerful thing to think about because a lot of the problems that we have come from these urges to say something that you probably shouldn't say to a certain person because you have this desire to be right or whatever. And like your desire to eat junk food, if you can control those urges, I mean, that's when like you feel this huge sense of control in your life. So I would agree with you. The number one thing on that list, I'm sure, I can't wait for you to share this list that you have so everyone can see all these benefits, because it's just a lot. But the number
Yeah.
one thing is just the control that you have. Like for me, after completing this most recent long fast, I just felt this huge sense of confidence. Like, if I can do that, what else can I do? And it's just addicting because you're like, it's hard. It's not easy. Not everyone can do it. I couldn't always do it, and I just know that I'm showing up as a better version of myself today if I can do that, because 10 years ago, Greg, no way. No
Right.
way.
God, 2 weeks ago, Cameo. No
Yeah.
way. Like, it's an ongoing joke around here for Faith and I that as soon as we start being crabby, the first question out of your mouth is, when's the last time you ate something?
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the statistic is, but I would venture to say, in my experience, 99% of the time I'm angry, it's because I haven't eaten. You know what I mean? Like, there's some kind of fight that's taking place because I ate a long time ago. And there's a difference there. I was even asked that question as I was sharing it on my stories in real time. Like, how do you fight being hangry? Back to that discipline and self-control. For me, it was because I had decided, like, I knew with intention that I was fasting. And so when that psychological warfare would take place, I had an answer for it, where like sometimes I just go. I'm not really fasting. I just happen to be not eating because I've been busy or whatever. And then I do get hangry. But in this case, I was definitely very in control of that emotion because I had purpose. I had a reason why. I knew exactly that I was going to be experiencing that. And I was prepared for it. Like, I was ready to say, oh no, we're not doing that today. We're not getting hangry. Go get some water, get some electrolytes, do the things that you need to do to make sure that you don't let yourself go off the rails here. So I don't know if these are in any particular order, but they are the top 10 potential benefits of extended fasting. And I think when people think fasting, they think weight loss. That is the number one listed potential benefit. And we did experience some weight loss. Like, I did weigh myself. We were coming off of basically a 10-day vacation. We had visitors, 2 different sets of visitors in town. So we were like kind of eating anything we wanted whenever we wanted, because that's what you do when you're like celebrating being around people that you love and spending time. So it was kind of off my game anyway. So I jumped on the scale, which could be dangerous. And I don't advocate scale usage all the time. But in this case, I just wanted to kind of see. And from the start of the fast to the end of my fast, I had lost 10 pounds. The majority of that was probably water weight and from all the extra sodium and all the different diet choices I had made in the 10 days leading up to. But I haven't jumped back up. Like, I'm up another 6 pounds right now from my start point. So maybe those 4 pounds really were some excess fat, or, still keeping off some of that excess water. It wasn't the primary reason why I was doing it personally, but it was definitely an added benefit. Did you weigh yourself?
I'm down a little bit. Yeah.
You didn't really like weigh yourself through the process like I did.
No.
I was doing it like I was a scientist collecting scientific data for my hypothesis. So like literally every time I would wake up or pee, I would weigh myself to see what my change in weight was. So, but that was my experience there. Some other things on the list are improved insulin sensitivity, enhanced brain function, reduced inflammation, cardiovascular health, metabolic benefits, so ketosis, improved immune function, and longevity, potential lifespan extension, which I've been talking about the book Outlive. Dr. Pete Attia does talk about that a little bit in his book, but not a ton about fasting, just a little bit. So interesting to see that on there as one of the top 10. And then my favorite, and I think the reason why we were doing it, or at least for me, I'll speak for me, is this big fancy word, autophagy. And the more I've learned about autophagy, the more excited I am, because it's basically like cleaning up all of the dead and dirty parts of your cells. And the longer you're in a fasted state, the more energy your body has to put toward doing that. So it's like cell turnover, and it's just fascinating to me. So it's basically a big fancy word for like the garbage trucks coming by in your cells and saying, hey, get out of here. We don't need this extra junk. You know what I'm saying? And that to me is like giving my entire body an opportunity to reset and regenerate itself with these extended fasts.
For me, sure, there's the aesthetic gain that you have of like you're moving the needle a little bit. You're definitely going to be trimming some fat. The real exciting part of this too is like how you feel. You know, I'm addicted to how it makes me feel, because once you get past that initial, like, I'm hungry and I want to go eat because I'm bored, and there's really no hunger pains, because as long as you keep yourself hydrated, drinking water, electrolytes, fizzy water, you know, whatever you need to do to satisfy that, a lot of times you're just thirsty, you know?
Yeah.
But the level of like euphoric feeling of just clearness and ability to focus, because there's no sugar, there's no carbs that I'm processing, you know, like that is just addicting. I could just sit and do my thing and just never want to go to bed. Like you just have this
Just locked in,
you're just locked in. It's unbelievable.
I
And if you
agree.
experience it, you know what I'm talking about. And then longer term, it's like it gets more intense, and it's like you almost don't even want to break your fast at the end. And like when I broke my fast, I think it was like 4 a.m. I literally woke up and there was like this calling to me that was like, go eat it. Like I was like, oh,
You didn't have a
like,
choice.
I didn't have a choice. It was like pulling me out of the bed, and I was like, ugh. And it was like, I'm making eggs at 4 a.m. and I'm just like, it's time to eat, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, just the feeling that you have and the clarity, just that right there is amazing, you know, and just how you feel, you know?
Right. And I would say that I've experienced that with the intermittent fasting that we do and have done to some degree, but this was my longest fast, intentional fast, longest fast ever probably. And it was definitely elevated. That level of focus and clarity, calmness, my whole body was just like not on any type of high alert, not working too hard, just like very calm, cool, and collected, operating at its most optimized level. And like I said, we didn't plan to go further than 36 hours. So would I do things differently next time? Probably. We worked out while we were fasting. We did a boxing workout. We lifted weights. We saunaed. You did twice because you had an extra day in there. And I'm not sure, this is where the expert level and like wanting to make sure that what you're doing is safe and healthy comes in, but I'm not sure that we should have done that or maybe pushed it or did it as much as we did during that fast. So I would definitely want to research more of that. But honestly, I felt fine doing it. I actually felt really strong and really loose and light, like in our boxing workout. I was like firing really well. And I think it was because of all of those things. My body was working at an optimal state. And as you said, I had some questions, like I said on the live, it was a liquid fast. So like we were drinking things like electrolytes, which are really important to the salt and the minerals that you're getting so that your body is functioning off of some type of nutritional element. It wasn't just water. The bubble water keeps you full because of the carbonation, and some coffee, of course, with some caffeine. I would want to research a little bit more there too, because I think, and you probably know more about this from your experience than I do at this point, that there are certain things that you can eat or that you can intake that do not technically break your fast. But honestly, I'm not sure I would want to, because I feel like then that kind of like breaks that discipline and control element that was so satisfying. If I start eating celery, even if I'm allowed to, that's going to trigger that kind of like desire to munch or to eat. Yeah. So that's interesting. So we worked out, we drank only liquids, we saunaed, and I had a kind of a different experience when I broke my fast. A little bit the same, a little less like zombie-like and urged, and more like I woke up and I didn't feel very good. I felt very nauseous, a little bit lightheaded, and so less urged to eat and more out of necessity. I think I probably would have gone further and longer if I didn't feel so crappy, but I had this moment of like, I need to eat something because I don't feel good. And kind of like your eggs, I was called to an apple. I don't know that that's like an appropriate thing to break a fast with. Again, more research is necessary here. But in my experience, an apple was like the one thing in the whole world that I wanted to eat. It was cold and crisp in the refrigerator, and it was so juicy and sweet. And I ate the apple very early in the morning. I woke up and ate and then laid back down. And then I felt great after I had the apple and the nap. I felt great. I was like alert and ready and full of energy. And I had eggs when I had my real meal that morning, and creamer in my coffee, and I was off to the races. And kind of to your point, now that I've experienced that, I'm ready to do it again. I'm actually fasting right now. And I was going to go for an extended fast, but I think it's probably too soon. In the research that I have done, you're not to do an extended fast as often. Maybe like once every few weeks or once a month is on the healthier side of doing it that way. So I'm in an intermittent fasted state right now, and I feel amazing. And I'm like, it's almost addicting.
Yeah.
Not to be extreme, but just the feeling that you get and the benefit. Yeah.
It's funny too, because our bodies are all different. We're all different science experiments in our skin. We have these keto strips. I call them keto strips, but they measure your ketones in your urine. And
okay, wait, stop before you even go into what they are. Now you've opened up that bag. You have to tell what happens. Okay.
So a couple years ago, I got really into keto, like learning about it and following some YouTubers out there that are just experts at it. And I learned a lot. And through that journey, I've purchased things that are keto friendly and on Amazon. So when that delivery would come, everyone gets to hear me rejoice in excitement and saying, "It's keto Christmas." And I run around the house and open my keto Christmas presents that I bought for myself the day before.
And there's also keto Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's what you sing when you're in keto.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
That's your big song. So we have these strips, and like when you fast, you're not eating sugar, so your body switches over to burning fat for fuel. And I don't know all the science behind it, but you have ketones in your urine, and it measures the level. And you run really hot, so like you have high level of ketones just out of the gate. After like 12 hours of fasting, you're like, boom, you're killing it. And for me, I'm like day 3 and I'm barely into the dark pink, and it's just like, my God, this is not fair, but we're all just different. When they say like people were like,
well, we have different metabolic rates and different ways that we process foods. And that's why gluten-free versus keto versus paleo, whatever, like these different diets impact people in different ways based on their own unique biology. Yeah. And you're right. Like I am immediately in keto. I'll go use one of the strips as soon as we wrap up here. And I'm probably in keto just from fasting overnight and into the mid-afternoon today. And you're right. I always feel so bad. I don't even like want to tell you, because I'm like, the poor guy, he's been fasting for like 68 hours and he's not even in keto. He doesn't have any ketones in his bloodstream and his urine. And here I am, like I've already eaten 3 meals and I'm still in like major keto. I just feel so bad. But
when you hear keto Las Vegas, it's good.
It's on. Yeah. It's been fun. Kind of like I said at the beginning, we aren't experts and we are just learning, and we are super curious, and we're just always going to try new things. And like you did keto for a while and experienced what that felt like. And now we do the fasting, and we're extending our fasts and experimenting with different things. And like, I just think it's interesting to see what will happen longer term while we implement this. Like this is right out of the gate what our experience was. I'm curious to see what will happen after a few months of doing one extended fast a month, and how it will actually impact our weight loss, like how true that weight loss may be, or how it will impact our overall feeling of energy levels. For women, I do know, and I haven't read the book yet, but I do know that like there's a way to sync when you fast and for how long you fast with your menstrual cycle. So like it's even in that way, it's different for me versus you. And there's just so much to learn about the benefits and how it impacts you individually that like I'm really excited about continuing that.
You'll have to put in your show notes what happens on hour 8, hour 10, like the level of, testosterone that your body makes on hour 16, just all those things that kind of happen. That's what's really interesting. And you can kind of track that when you are fasting, like, all right, I'm on hour 12, what's happening inside of my body? It's really cool to see.
Yeah. And I would say that's also what made this experience different, why I wasn't hangry, because I was so focused on what I was doing and this mindset around it that I did have those things to hang on to, like totally nerd out on like what's happening in hour 18, what's happening in hour 26. I just passed the 36-hour mark. What's happening? And like feeding off of what's actually taking place in my body and like, okay, I'm fine. That to me was fuel to overcome any sense of I want to eat something.
Yeah.
So I feel like during this time, there were definitely moments when I was like, oh, I want to eat, I'm hungry. Or you'd walk by when I was sitting in here in this office and I'd be like, I'm hungry, just stay away. I don't want to snap, but just an awareness, but like, it wasn't that bad. And I think that for anyone out there who's wanting to learn more about fasting or try fasting, definitely do some research, even if it's just a little bit. Make sure that you are in a position where it would be beneficial and healthy for you. Speak to a professional should you find necessary. But like, don't let just not eating be scary. Like, oh, I don't know if I can't eat. People say that all the time about getting in an ice bath. Oh, I can't get in, it's too cold. Just don't let those conditioned ideas of what you think you can and can't do keep you from trying something, because you probably are going to surprise yourself. And in this situation with an extended fast, I definitely surprised myself. And I think you did too.
Yeah. I think you also said something pretty powerful about it is it was a plan. It was all planned out. It was like strategic. There was a beginning and an end, and then what's going to happen at the end, and like how you come out of your fast is very important too, like because your body's in a different state. You can't just go eat a bunch of sugar and because it'll just hold on to that and store it as fat, knowing that you should have maybe some bone broth or something to kind of ease back into it. All these
less necessarily about storing it as fat and more about how your body's going to react after it's been in this like reset state. It's cleaned out and you don't want to have adverse effects of fasting and eating something that's going to run right through you. You know what I'm saying?
You work so hard, you go through all that and you feel so good. It's like the last thing I want to do is eat this bad stuff. You just cleaned up your whole house and it's like totally put together. Everything's just in perfect condition and you don't want to go like just make a big mess everywhere. And that's what eating bad felt like. But I can't say that I haven't eaten bad since then, because I feel like I was at such a calorie deficit, and working out so much. I just was like, oh my gosh. As soon as the feeding window opened, I was like, no, it was hard. Honestly, it was hard to not like overeat because I was like so excited to eat.
Yeah, same. But it definitely is a different perspective. I remember feeling that way with bodybuilding. And I shared that with you when we were doing our fast. You focus so hard on doing the right things and following the plan that when you are able to be off plan, it just almost isn't worth it. And so that's definitely something that I want to learn more about, how to break the fast properly, how to make sure that I'm giving my body what it needs to really reap the benefits of the fast and not just fast and then blow it. Because we're talking about it. It's easy, it wasn't that hard, but it is hard. It's hard work and it's hard for your body to adjust. And so I'm going to make sure that I learn more in that area for sure.
I also enjoy the element of it's kind of like a little silent battle that you're fighting. I enjoy moving the needle in life and I enjoy like making things happen and getting to another level, whether it's with health, wealth, wisdom, whatever it is. I enjoy seeing progress. And it's one of those things that it's just a silent battle that you're fighting behind the scenes. Like you're literally at war with those urges and you're winning. And it just builds confidence just to know like, I got this. I remember we went out with our friends Dave and Stacy one time when we went to a concert, and before the concert, they were fasting, a pretty long-term fast, I think. And we were like killing some sushi right in front of them, just like going to town, like, you guys sure you don't want to,
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that, but you're right.
Yeah.
It's like pounding it.
It takes a lot of discipline, and, like you mentioned, bodybuilder days. I mean, same with that. Like eating cold chicken out of a Ziploc bag while everyone else is having Benny's pizza, you have people look at you funny. When you're not drinking beer and everyone, it's like, people, what's wrong with you? Are you, like it's, or if you're not eating the pizza and you're eating the healthy food, it's like, what's wrong? What's the deal? It's that element too of like, you're not just getting in line and you're doing something a little different than what everyone else is doing. So how do you do that when you're having a cookout and it's like, I'm fasting?
Back to your point, I mean, you plan for that. So like, if you've got a weekend coming up where you're going to be going to a cookout or having family over, I wasn't trying to fast when we had guests here. It was like, I'll do this afterward when I'm resetting kind of like my entire system across the board and getting back to normal life. I'm also going to fast. So having a plan is so important, not just about how to get out of it or how to start, but like when you're going to do it, what you're going to do while you're doing it. That was the other thing, was that like, I was really busy. We were really busy during that time too. So we set ourselves up for success by saying, okay, we're going to do it after we've had 2 sets of guests, when we are at a major caloric surplus and we need a reset. We're going to do it after the guests leave, when we have the time and space, and when we're really busy kind of getting back into the groove of our own life. Thinking about food was happening less frequently naturally during that period of time anyway. So those are all things to consider if you're going to try fasting and learn about it and implement it into your day-to-day, especially when it comes to an extended fast. At least that's what was working in our experience as ways to make sure that we were successful in our pursuit. And also not throwing in the towel. Also not saying, oh, it's been 24 hours. I was going to go 36, but 24 hours is good enough. Stay in it. Hold yourself accountable. In fact, we said 36 and we pushed further. There's something about that builds confidence, that psychological discipline that you're putting into that's beyond just the physical benefits of your body.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, that's probably my favorite thing about it. It's why and that's just me in a nutshell. I'm like you. I like moving the needle. I like making progress. I liked being a bodybuilder for that reason. I like not drinking for that reason. I like fasting for that reason. It's who I am. I like challenging myself to like do these things. And so I can't get enough. Like, I'm ready to do the extended fast again, but I have to pull back and say, well, you're not supposed to do that as frequently. So just intermittent fast and be happy with that. And that's cool too.
This is just the science experiment, and there's enough data there that says, hey, this is a good thing. And I like the way it makes me feel. So, and you hook yourself up too with, you don't have to cook any food and you don't have to wash any dishes. So that's
added bonus. Do your research, figure out what works for you, plan accordingly, set yourself up for success. Happy fasting.